This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
757 Saturday Sports Talk brought to you by Larry King Law. Injured in an accident, you call 757-595-8100, LarryKingLaw.com, the website. Here on this glorious Saturday morning, the 3rd day of October, the year 2020. And at this time, we're joined by a special guest. He is the head men's basketball coach at Norfolk State University, getting ready for his 8th season at the helm, his 14th year overall with the Spartans. He has a record of 125, 111 overall, 84 wins versus 28 losses in the MEAC, a 750 winning percentage in conference play. He's made the postseason 5 times in 6 years that the postseason has been played, and of course has had MEAC Coach of the Year honors. One of the best in the business here. We say hello to Robert Jones here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Coach, good morning. How have the past 6-7 months felt? Have they felt longer or as long as multiple seasons in some years in a sense?
Good morning. I think that it's felt very, very long. 6 months without coaching basketball has been the longest I've been without it in a long, long time. So over 2 decades. So it was tough, but I'm glad to be back on the court and getting ready for the season.
Everyone's excited to be over there at Eccles Hall and see some basketball, watch the Spartans in play. And you guys were playing really well, 16-15 last season, but 12-4 in the league, and won 3 in a row before COVID-19 came and canceled that MEAC tournament game slated for March the 12th versus Coppin State at the Scope. And for many of your kids, some of which are even seniors, that dream of going to the NCAA tournament pretty much vanished without even playing a game. How did you all cope with that reality?
It was tough because, like you said, we were like the hottest team in the league, and even with the net NCAA rankings, we were the highest rated team in the league. Even though we finished 1 game out of first place just because of what was going on down the stretch of that season. So we, in a sense, we felt like we were the favorites in a sense. Even though we were wasn't the number 1 seed, but that locker room was like a morgue. Funeral, whatever you want to say, when it was the news was broken that the season was over and we couldn't compete for a chance to go to NCAA tournament, which a lot of those kids, which all the kids I think compete for, coaches too, compete for all years. Like you work all year from June until March, and then there's nothing at the end of the road. And for guys like Jermaine Bishop and Stephen Whitley, who was their last chance, it really hurt those guys, and it was really emotional to see those guys cry in the locker room.
Now, Whitley being a young man that started there at Diesel out of Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk, right here from the 757. And people's lives have been turned upside down, even beyond the sport of basketball, Coach, as you well know here in these past several months. And I'm just, wondering for you that the challenges we've got in our world here socially, for you and your players during this time, there was a really I'd say, amazing piece in the pilot about things that you have faced personally. Kind of detail for us just how tough it has been and things that you've dealt with here and your players and all that you've talked about amongst yourselves with coaches and players.
It's been tough times socially. Some of the things that happened, honestly, has been going on for years. I think it's just being televised more, to be honest with you. So it's like we've talked about these issues before as a team, as a staff, and now they're right in front of the kids' faces. So we talk about it even more. Like we tell the kids all the time, if they want to voice their opinion about something, we encourage it. We just say do it in an intentional and systematic way, and not just do anything just because you're just following a crowd, and of course try to make it legal. So. With that being said, we're going to continue to have these conversations with these student athletes as and hopefully more and more doesn't happen, but I'm sure it will. So we'll continue to have these conversations with the student athletes.
We're talking with Robert Jones. He's the head men's basketball coach at Norfolk State University, the 2019 MEAC Coach of the Year here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. The Spartans look to be one of the top contenders yet again in the MEAC this season. And when people say they want to help and make a difference, make a change, and it's not easy to do right now with COVID too. It makes things more complicated. But when someone comes to you with that, myself right here, I do this with athletes. What's your answer for them?
If someone wants to make a change.
Make a change, make a difference, I guess make things better.
I think the thing that I think people just have to, do is just keep educating themselves, educating themselves about, the different races and things like that, and not just, go on stereotypes. I think a lot of times, and there's stereotypes both ways, from blacks, whites, Latinos, and, there's stereotypes, all across the board. And I think a lot of times you have to, educate yourself and knock down some of those stereotypes so you can really understand the person, understand the race, and hopefully that can, merge the gap a little bit between some of the, the things that's going on in society, even the stuff that's going on with police, and with African Americans. I think a lot of times, cops have a preconceived notion of, some African Americans, and on the flip side, African Americans at this point have a preconceived notion about police. So it's like, if we could continue to educate each other, and it will probably continue to knock some of those walls down and some of those barriers, so we could come to a place of a happy medium.
The word equality gets thrown around a lot, and you deal with it in HBCUs. Some people don't, I think, completely unfairly view you guys and treat you guys the same way they do the Power Fives out there. And I'm curious your thoughts on it and how the effect is here in recruiting during this time, as well as with COVID, just the equality of things. And, I mean, you guys are Division I just like everybody else, whether in the ACC, the Big Ten, you name them, right?
Yeah, no, without question. And I think that, with that question, it's kind of a twofold question because, with the effect of recruiting, I think a lot of it, there is some, to be honest with you, there are some better recruits that are looking at HBCUs in this social climate. And, as long as I'm an HBCU coach, of course, I'm going to try to take advantage of that. And I think that a lot of these recruits are looking for, a place they can call home and, see many faces that look like theirs on campus as well as the coaching staff. So there is a renewed interest in HBCU athletics, but at the same time, it's like it's almost the other side of the coin. Is like you kind of get labeled as HBCU athletics, and it's like like you said, we're one of 357 Division I teams. Like we're not Division II. Some people think we're Division II. I was in a car dealership not too long ago, and he's like, oh, you guys do really well in Division II. I'm like, we're not Division II, man. Like we just beat Alabama last year. Like you didn't see that on TV. Like we're not Division II. So it's like it's still kind of like trying to get some of those stereotypes away from even the sports thing, because there are a lot of good players that play HBCU basketball. I think that we have some of those. I think there's a lot of good coaches that coach in the MEAC, the SWAC, and other HBCUs. So it is unfair, and from an athletic standpoint. I mean, as a coach and as a player, I think as a player, sometimes you have to do above and beyond to even get noticed by the NBA, and as a coach, you have to go above and beyond to get noticed even by other Power Five like institutions or anything like that. So it's we could talk about this for forever. That's one of the reasons why I did join the ABIS, which is the Advancement of Blacks in Sports, because it has to be something done about the lopsided view of HBCU coaches and black coaches.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think we got to get more people in the picture to be considered, for sure, no doubt about it. And Coach, you hit on that thing that got my attention there with the individual in the car dealership. I mean, not only did you beat Alabama, you were, correct me if I'm wrong here, the team at Alabama. It was a neutral site there, and it's the biggest, I think, by point spread victory in the NIT as an underdog in the history of the NIT.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked the car dealer. Like, you didn't see that. You had to see it if you're a sports, because he told me he was a sports fan.
Right.
So that's what he told me about. He's a sports fan. So I'm like, it was all over Sports Center the whole night. That day, and even in some of the next days. So, but it was the biggest point spread victory in NIT history. So we did something really good, and I mean, and honestly, if you go back a couple of years, when I was an assistant coach, we had the biggest point spread in NCAA history. So it's like, for him to say that was a little took me off guard. And it was a local dealership too. So it was like, wow, you guys really don't know, huh? It was kind of crazy to me. But at the same time, it's just what you have to keep fighting, and you have to keep trying to make some magic happen so people will understand exactly what we're doing at Norfolk State basketball, because we do run a very viable mid-major program. I never really recruit with the thing that, I say that we're HBCU. I think at this point, when you get recruited by us, you probably know that we're HBCU already. So we try to tell people, we're a mid-major program, and we've been in the mid-major top 25, plenty of times in the last few years. And, like with Alabama, we won 21 games, 22 games, that year. So, to win 22 games, you're not just beating, MEAC opponents. You have to beat a lot of other opponents to win 22 games. And that's what, we try to strive for. We're going to continue to strive for it no matter what the climate is, and try to keep putting Norfolk State basketball on the map.
Oh, great history from Norfolk State. You think back to the days of Bob Dandridge, the Greyhound, Pee Wee Kirkland, and you were part of that staff there with Anthony Evans, and we know the names and some of the faces like Kyle O'Quinn of the NBA, Chris McKeechin out of Norview High School in Norfolk when the Spartans took down Missouri in the 2012 NCAA tournament. We're talking with the head man of the Spartans, Behold the Green and Gold, Robert Jones, here on ESPN Radio 94.1 at 757 Saturday Sports Talk. And I want to get to your team, the current guys here in a moment, Coach. But right now with COVID-19, tell me about some of the challenges for recruiting, because this was not a typical year where you had all these AAU games going on and you guys could go out and tell me it's a little bit different for Division I guys and gals, men and women, than it is for Division IIs and Division IIIs, is it not?
Yeah, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Division IIs and IIIs can still go out in person. I believe. I know Division I we can't. We have to watch all these links of open gyms and tournaments and things like that. And of course, video is a part of the process of recruiting, but also it's very hard to just watch video and not see the person in person, because you don't, the speed on the video might not be the speed that he's moving, in person. So it's tough. And also with just the whole recruitment aspect of it, doing a lot of stuff on Zoom and things like that, it's still not really a real personal touch of that young man sitting on your couch, in your office, and you're looking him in his eyes, and he's looking you in his eyes, in your eyes, and you guys are trying to really get a good feel for each other and try to get some kind of bond there. So it's totally different with the Zoom recruiting and everything. And I do think that, I think that coming up, I know that there's a lot of transfers that's been happening in the last couple of years, but I think there's going to even be more coming up, this class coming up. And I say that because I think a lot of kids are going to make mistakes as far as like what school they're going to go to. And I think a lot of coaches are going to make mistakes on the kids that they think could play for them because they haven't seen them live. So I think it's going to go twofold, and I think there's going to be a ton of transfers next year, which I guess is right in time for what the proposed one-time transfer exception, I guess, is right on time with that. But, I just think that people are making a lot of tough decisions right now without seeing kids play. And like I said, without kids even stepping foot on a campus and seeing what the campus looks like. Of course, everybody's going to tell you about the arena and things like that. But, what does campus look like? Stuff like that. So it's definitely tough, both sides of the coin for coaches and players right now.
We know we're getting closer to a return of basketball, the ball being thrown up there for real here for all the college athletes after the heartbreak of no NCAA tournament and many conference tournaments being wiped by the board in the 2019-20 campaign. But give us an idea, if you can. A lot of questions here kind of in one here wrapped up, Coach, but what you guys can and can't do as far as practicing, how long you can go, what you're hearing as far as potential fans in attendance, which I know is out of your control completely, but also as far as the schedule goes, any insider news on the schedule and when it will be released for you guys?
As far as fans, I don't really know what we're going to do with fans. I think Virginia has a cap of 1,000, indoor facilities. So I'm sure that, we'll use that rule. Now how the 1,000 gets, separated out, like you said, that's beyond my control. As far as schedule, to be honest with you, we have no schedule right now. The schedule that we did have, we had to rip it up and start again because, a lot of teams are affected by COVID, and we lost some games with the later start time of November 25th. So right now we're starting from scratch. Hopefully we'll have a schedule done between the next week or two, which is insane to me because in the next week or two is when official practice starts for us. Yeah. So to not have a schedule done before official practice is insane. But there's a lot of insane things going on right now. So it's it just goes along with 2020, I guess. For sure. And as far as practice, right now we do 12 hours a week. We're only allowed to do 8 hours of basketball, 4 hours of strength and conditioning. Once October 14th hits, then we'll be able to do our regular 20 hours a week of activity. So right now we're just trying to use these 8 hours as much as we can to try to catch up because we didn't have a summer for us. I know a lot of schools have been different. There hasn't been like a real uniform thing across the country. Some people have been practicing since July 20th. Some people just started, when we started in early September, and some people are just starting to get their kids back on the court now. So it's like, we're ahead of some people and we're way behind some others. So we're just trying to do as much as we can in these 8 hours to catch up as much as possible so we get to the 20 hours a week and, hopefully have a good showing those first couple games. I'm already chalking up the first couple games, Matt, to scrimmages. Hopefully we can win the scrimmages. If we lose them, we lose them. If we win them, we win them. But I think that without us actually having scrimmages or exhibitions this year, we're not going to play against live competition until that first real game. So those first couple games, it's going to be a filling out process. Like I said, hopefully we come out on top. But if we don't, it's not going to be the end of the world, unlike maybe some other years when, it definitely would have been the end of the world, like if, we lose some of those games. So,
sure.
Just filling out.
Couple more minutes here with Robert Jones, the head men's basketball coach of Norfolk State University, where he has a .750 career winning percentage in conference play. The 2019 Skip Prosser Man of the Year Award, which is given annually to the nation's men's head basketball coach in NCAA Division I competition, who also exhibits strong moral character. It's ESPN Radio 94.1, 757 Saturday Sports Talk. And I could talk with you all day, Coach, but I know our time is limited, and I'm sure we'll get you back here on the program. But I want to kind of finish up here on a couple of your guys here and some of these players. Because of the New York roots for you, being born in Queens, and it's kind of thought, it's a misconception, I believe, that all they recruit is New York, but you got at least 5 players on this roster with Keonze Chavis from Norfolk Collegiate, Andre Bottoms from Oscar Smith, Devontae Carter of Woodside, Joe Bryan of Lake Taylor, who's regarded among the top defenders in the entire MEAC, and Isaiah Chambers of Oscar Smith, right here from the 757. So these Spartans, you guys are getting some homegrown talent too.
Yeah, no, we are, and I think that was a misconception at first. When I first got here as an assistant coach, of course, Coach Evans was the head coach at, he was from New York as well. So you have like the top, the recruiting coordinator, myself, and Coach Evans, both from New York. So of course we had a lot of New York players. That was the easiest place to get players from. And I think people didn't understand that. And then really honestly back then, a lot of Virginia kids didn't want to come to Norfolk State because it wasn't a very successful program, to be honest with you. So, you got to put some kids out there, you got to field the team somehow. So I was able to get New Yorkers. And the year that we actually won the title in 2012, we had 8 New Yorkers. So, but at the same time now that's totally changed because of the success. Now we're able to get Virginia kids, and also the addition of Coach Clemens a few years ago, Coach C.J. Clemens. He's made, he knows everybody out here. So it's like he's made tremendous strides into helping us, acquire the Virginia talent. And now we're able to get, sometimes half the roster is Virginia now. And not saying that now also, we're not saying we're not recruiting anybody else, but at the same time, if we do have homegrown talent that can help us win, we would like to keep the homegrown talent home.
Well, and beyond that, even outside the 757 here in the Commonwealth, you got the Class 5 State Player of the Year from a couple seasons ago, and Tyrese Jenkins from Verina High in Richmond, who I imagine is going to be primed for a big year. Yeah.
Tyrese should be primed for a big year. I mean, he really came on strong towards the end of the year, averaged about 9 points down the stretch. He's a very versatile 6'7" guard forward, so we can play him at a few different positions. He can, he can shoot the three. He can handle the ball really well. And he actually rebounds way better than his stature. He's kind of a slight frame guy, but he can rebound the basketball. So we're looking for him to have a very good year.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and be looking for that schedule. He is the head men's basketball coach of Norfolk State University, Robert Jones, with us here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Coach, thank you so much for the time this morning. We look forward to getting you back on the program. Best wishes to you and safe travels, all right?
All right, appreciate you. Thanks.